It's the GAA Club Championship, but not as we know it. We begin our club coverage this year, as we did last year, on the banks of the Lee. This time showcasing a cavernous Páirc with a scattering of masked supporters due now, the lucky few who've nabbed a ticket for this age-old Cork City rivalry. Well, it's a north side, south side derby. Decades of hurling folklore in this one. It's the Glen against the Bars. Throw-in is at 7:30. Well, hello and welcome to Saturday GAA Live. I'm delighted to be in the company of two men with their finger on the pulse of club hurling in Cork. Donal Cusick and Kieran Murphy, you're both very welcome this evening. Thanks for coming in. Donal, it's great to have hurling back, to have something to watch, isn't it? Yeah, fantastic, Evan. I think everybody worried over the last couple of months, would we see any hurling this year? So I think it's fantastic to see games going on all over the country. And, you know, let's face it, when the GAA is back, when the GAA people are getting out and about to games, Ireland is back. So it's fantastic. Not everyone, of course, is getting out and about to games because we do have a limit on people that can go to games. But Kieran, you were at a match last night. Stars did a good win. Yeah, Stars did a great win. And to be honest, 2 hours before the game, I didn't have a ticket myself, so you know I was very lucky to get one. There's fierce demand and fierce hunger to attend the club championship down in Cork, and just following on from Donal's point there, it's just so great to have hurling back. You know, everyone is just really excited about it, especially tonight's game. Should be a great game, but it's just more the joy of people going to games and being able to attend them and watch them and just have that bit of normality back in your life. It's really great. Now, Cork people will obviously be familiar with, well, this fixture, first of all, but more so the championship and the way that it's laid out. It's been a bit of a change since last year. I might get you to explain it to the non-Cork hurling folk watching. Yeah, well, in the Premier Senior Championship, there's now 3 groups of 4 teams, with 6 of those teams, the top 2 in each of the groups, going through to the knockout stages. The best team out of that 6 goes straight through to the semi-final. The other 5 go to the quarter-final stage, and they're joined winners of the colleges and divisional teams. So I think a lot of credit to the Cork County Board. You know, traditionally in Cork, we've had the back door over the last couple of years, and the knockout. I think at a minimum now, every player is going to get a couple of games. I think that's what players want more than anything. So I think all credit to the county board for putting that structure in place. I suppose the big carrot really is that one team that will get straight through to a semi-final. There's only one place, so what, you have to win all your matches, really. Yeah, it's definitely a big advantage. In one way, you could say, Van, going straight through to the semi-final, maybe the potential of avoiding some of the bigger hitters. But having said that, any of the teams that come through playing so many games, by the time you do get to the semi-final, you'll be pretty sure about what you're about, and there'll be a lot of momentum behind you. So there's for and against that, really. Kieran, the last time I saw you, we were getting very wet down in Páirc rain. We were watching Imokilly play that night. They are most likely to come through the divisionals in the colleges. They're going for 4 in a row this year. Is there still that bit of controversy over, you know, them being in the championship? I think there's a kind of a view this year that you know, they'll find it harder because obviously, you know, they're made up of intermediate and junior clubs, and you know, they're going to be involved in their own championships while Imokilly are going to be playing as well. So probably getting together in terms of training and preparation will be difficult. They've lost a number of players as you know, Father O'Neill's and Klein have been upgraded. But they're also, like, they're getting back Colm Spillane, they're getting back Niall O'Leary. They're still going to be a serious outfit. They have enough quality to be the favourites in the championship still. The hope is for, you know, I'm involved with a club, you're hoping that one of the clubs will take them out early when they do come back into the championship, or maybe, you know, one of the college teams could take them out, but they're still the team to beat in Cork. Yeah, the Glen beat them in last year's final. They're going for 4 in a row. You know, I mean, what are your thoughts on them being in the senior championship as a divisional side? Yeah, well, look, it's debatable. I played for a long time for Imokilly myself in the championship. You know, in reality, Imokilly have as big a pick almost as County Offaly, right? But having said that, look, you look at the different clubs that are there. You know, maybe there's some players coming in from different areas and different clubs. And I would say for a definite event that junior players should have an opportunity to play at senior level, and the divisional model in that sense is very good. It is debatable, however, if you've got a huge amount of intermediate clubs that are one level below senior, then joining together to play against senior teams. The one thing I suppose that they could struggle with this year, given that we have these COVID regulations and the fact that, you know, there are so many matches that we have to get into 6 or 7 weekends across hurling and football, they might actually struggle to have players released for games.
It's a great point, but if Imikilly can stay in the championship for a long time, you'll see that clubs will start losing their players by virtue of being knocked out. And I think if they can make it, we were only talking earlier on today, myself and Kieran, about that point, that if Imikilly can stay to the latter stages of the championships, they'll still be a force to be reckoned with.
Last year, the Glen were the ones to meet them in the final and to be beaten in the final eventually. Are they still up there as, you know, up in the top 2-3 teams in the championship?
Oh yeah, certainly. I mean, Dave Richie Kelleher and Ian Lynham is back involved this year. You know, I suppose they've been the management team that have brought the success to the Glen over the last number of years. You know, they beat Stars. I was playing the same day in 2015. They won again in 16. They're the last club to win the county outside of Imikilly. When you have the quality players of Páirc Horgan, Dean Brosnan, Cathal Hickey in goal, you know, they're a really good, proud club team. And the one thing that Richie and Ian get out of them is a performance each day they go out, and they're always a hard team to beat.
OK, we'll talk more about that shortly. We are coming to you from the studio in Dublin, but we do have a small team down in the park. Chief among them our Gaelic Games correspondent Marty Morrissey, who's been speaking to the managers of Glen Rovers and St Finbarrs.
So, Richie Kelleher, how are the preparations going in Glen Rovers for this match?
A bit rushed, Marty, since the lockdown was lifted. We've kind of squashed in a lot of matches and training. Before that, we left them go. We didn't do a whole pile during the lockdown. We did actually 0 during the lockdown. But we've played 3 good matches. We've played Holy Cross, we played our own local team Blackrock, and we played Ballyhale Shamrocks below Lismore, but maybe 2 weeks ago. I'm very happy with the preparations.
We're very lucky, like, we've a very honest, dedicated bunch, like, so obviously during the lockdown they tipped away like as best they could, but we had football championship last week, so hurling this week, hurling again next week, so that's the biggest thing, just to manage the players, but we couldn't get a more dedicated bunch, so we're delighted how it's gone so far anyway.
Now, you've some big names. Of course, the biggest name in terms of the country, never mind Cork, is Páirc Horgan. He's going to be double marked, or there'll be some plan by the Bars. Yeah,
well, look, that's up for them, and we've come across that. Look, Patrick's played senior hurling since he was 17. I think the man is 32. So look, we've come across loads of scenarios with Patrick. We just let him go and hurl. If he's double marked, he's double marked. Look, but as I say, if he's double marked, there's space somewhere else for somebody else, and we got to figure out that space and get the ball to that space to take advantage. If we can do that, then they got to come back from that space that'll relieve Patrick. So look, we've come across that before. We're well used to it. It doesn't mean we're going to get it right, but we have that in our head.
How are you going to cope with Páirc Horgan?
Yeah, look, Páirc Horgan is probably one of the best Cork forwards ever produced. I think he'd do it in any era, like, so he's a great player, but look, we've a lot of faith in our fellas, and hopefully we'll just step up to the mark today, give it everything, and if we're there and touching at the end, we'll be delighted.
Well, Aidan, the very best of luck to St Finbarrs, and thank you very much for joining us here on the Saturday game.
No bother. Thanks.
Yeah, that's one question for Aidan, how he's going to deal with Hoggy. But the other question, Kieran, is what kind of style is he going to bring? Because he's just taken over from Ronan Kern. Is it going to be a different format or a different kind of play from what we saw last year?
Yeah, that's certainly something that I'm looking forward to seeing today. You know, Ronan Kern has been over the bars for the last couple of years with Sean Barry, and you know they've really brought the bars on over during their time there. Aidan has come in now. You know, the talk around Cork at the moment is that they might go a little bit more direct than the kind of possession style that the Bars were playing before. You know, when you've players like Billy Hennessy, Owen Finn, who like to kind of keep the ball in around the centre, I'd be interested to see that short time that they had to prepare before this game. He also mentioned there that they had football championship last week. The Cahillans were playing with Castlehaven. You know, it'll be just really interesting to see how he can kind of transfer his style onto the team in the short timeline that he's had preparing the team before the game tonight.
OK. Donald, let's talk a little bit about this rivalry because, you know, traditionally it's one of the big ones in Cork. I know they haven't been winning as many titles in the last kind of 2 decades, but before that it was all about this fixture, wasn't it?
Yeah, 2 storied clubs of the Glen from the north side, the Bars from the south side. I think they've got 52 county titles between them, so that tells its own story. In 1977, interestingly, there was a county final took place between both teams, and it was 33,000 in attendance, and that was 33,000 officially were in attendance. Used to be known once upon a time as the Little All Ireland, and some of the greatest players, not alone to play, played the game of hurling, have actually come out of both of those clubs. From the Glen, Christy Ring, obviously, Jack Lynch, now the likes of Patrick Horgan, and from the Bars you had Jimmy Barry Murphy, Gerald McCarthy, Ger Cunningham, Donal O'Grady. You could go on and on. So in terms of storied fixtures, this is definitely one.
And the fact that the clubs that like now don't have that level of, you know, or that number of county players on a panel, like you would have a time where there'd be 5 or 6 from both of those clubs playing for Cork. Has the glass come off this fixture a little bit, or is it still just as storied as ever?
Well, I think if you're out in the Bars or the Glen this week, the glass is well and truly on this fixture. You know, this has been anticipated for the last number of weeks down in Cork. I suppose, look, they haven't been playing at the latter stages of the championship over, you know, kind of, I suppose, a couple of decades now at this stage against each other. But that rivalry, you know, it still burns brightly, and it's certainly a game that it will excite both the Cork hurling public, but also the Glen and Bars people.
I don't know, was SARS winning last night a small bit of an upset? Is that fair?
Yeah, well, I suppose if you were to look at what people were kind of commenting, you know, you would say it was an upset. But, like, you know, I suppose being my own club, you'd have good confidence in them. We've been at the latter stages of the championship over the last few years. Still have some good quality players: Daniel Carney, Conor Sullivan, you know, Jack O'Connor. All these guys are good guys. But we're also integrating a few younger lads into the team as well too. And we're hoping that, you know, these guys will mature and perform and get a performance.
Okay, so it was exciting. My question really is about, could we get another one this evening? Like, I mean, obviously Glen are probably favourites, are they? Could we get an upset?
I think Glen are definitely favourites. The Bars have made progress over the last couple of years. They appear to have put a lot of work in at underage. They're starting to produce a lot of good players. They're starting to get victories at underage. It's 1993 since they won the county last. They did get to the semi-final last year, but I think to beat the Glen is probably a bridge too far tonight, is what I would think.
I think our co-commentator is managing one of the underage teams and has had good success over the last couple of years, Donal O'Grady. Absolutely
Fantastic under-15 team. Donal managed last year to win the county. He's with the under-16s this year, did a great win today against Ballincollig, and definitely when you hear the likes of Donal, Jimmy Barry Murphy, and, you know, strong Bars characters being involved with underage, it can only bode well for their future. Yeah, pride speaks for a lot, so we'll have to see if it comes out on the pitch later on. We have a quick break to take, though. This is when the stadium would normally be filling up. It's not, but stay with us. We'll take a closer look at the team lineups when we come back. Well, as sport finally begins to resurface, there is plenty coming up here on RTE TV as well as our other platforms, including the new Watch LOI service. Cork City hosts Bohemians tomorrow from 5 o'clock, and then it's St Pat's at home to Derry on Monday. Soccer Republic makes a welcome return to our TV screens on Monday at 7:30 on RTE2 with extensive highlights of the first weekend back for domestic football. On Wednesday then, our Sports Classic series relives a famous 2-0 home win for Ireland when Croatia arrived into Lansdowne Road for a Euro qualifier. The Champions League resumes this coming week with Pep Guardiola's Manchester City hot favourites to land a first European Cup. They carry a 2-1 lead into their home leg against Real Madrid. Our build-up to the second leg on Friday starts at 7:30. And we will be back again next week with more live club action from the World Gaelic Games, a double-header of Limerick hurling as Ahan face Kilmallock and defending champions Patrick Swell take on Doon. Coverage from 5:10 next Saturday. That's here on RTE2. Well, for a wider hurling audience, you'll be looking out for this the Cahillans against the Horgans on this one. But Ger Canning and Donal O'Grady will give us more detail now on how the teams will line up for Glen Rovers and St Finbarrs.
Thanks very much indeed, Ivan. Welcome live once again to Páirc Chaoimh. Well, the sun has come out, but the crowds haven't. And Donal and I are observing social distancing here. It's the new norm. It's strange, isn't it? The players came in and they were all togged on. No dressing rooms. They had to get ready here on the sidelines and so on. It's the way it's going to be for a while.
Going back to traditions, isn't it, Ger? You know, go back, toggy up by the side of the ditch, you know, but it's not ideal. you know, as Jurgen Klopp said, it's not really my field, but that's the medical advice, and I mean, we have to adhere to that until such time as we get different advice. But it's just a pity because this is such a traditional game, you know. It gets heated on the field, and it can get heated in the stands as well. And I think players respond to, you know, the north side south side rivalry. So it's just a pity, but that's the situation that we're in.
What about the rivalry between these two teams? Okay, in the past we were hearing there about crowds of 33,000 and so on in the 17s. There are three huge clubs, of course, traditionally here in Cork. They've got the Rockies as well. They have the most number of titles. But these two, the rivalry is still intense.
Hugely intense, Ger, and you know, that's a very good thing in my estimation, because it keeps the games going and it keeps the interest of the fans, it keeps the interest of the club members, and even as young as under 8s, under 9s, under 10s, you know, they're conscious that the Glen and the Bars is a special rivalry, and I'm expecting a very, very good game here today, and you know, it's going to be difficult possibly because it's the first game out for them. We're not sure how they'll respond. We're not sure how the physical fitness will be like, but I'm just looking down at the Glen there and their warm-up, and they look very, very sharp indeed.
Well, let's take a check on the teams. Thank you, Donal. And for their first championship meeting in 3 years, this is how two of Cork's great traditional rivals will start this evening. Last year's runners-up Glen Rovers are able to call on the bulk of the side beaten by Imokilly in last year's final. However, injury keeps Stephen MacDonald out for a little longer, and Adam Lynch takes his place at corner back. One notable change up front as well, where current minor star Luke Horgan starts his first ever senior championship match alongside the much better known Páirc Horgan, the Glen's record point scorer. And by the way, the two Horgans are not related. Opponents St Finbarrs have been making big strides in recent years, semi-finalists in 2019 and backboned by a half-back line of Glen O'Connor, Owen Keane and Damien Cahalane. The latter could be the one indeed handed the task of marking Páirc Horgan. There's another Cahalane, Connor in the half-forwards, or in the full-forwards indeed, Fitzgibbon Cup winner Billy Hennessy in midfield, with Stephen Sherlock, number 15, who played here in last year's Munster football final against Kerry, which further emphasises the dual nature of this Bars team. It's one to look forward to. It's coming up shortly. It's the Glen against the Bars.
All right, Ger and Donal, thank you. Is it as simple to say stop Páirc Horgan, they'll stop the Glen? Is it that simple? Is that too simple?
It's probably a bit unfair on the rest of the Glen team. You know, I'm really looking forward to seeing young Luke Horgan, to see how he does at this level. Still a young player, was a inter-county minor last year. The Dean Brosnan has been very good for the Glen and has linked up with Páirc really well. But look, we know Páirc Horgan, he's the marquee forward on show tonight. He's a marquee forward in any part of the country.
Well, that's just it. Let's talk about him then for a little while, because like no matter what team was playing this evening, he'd be a marquee player, marquee forward. He was playing Féile at under 11, I read during the week. Like, he's just one of these players that is so focused as well. And you were saying he's kind of changed his mindset this year, and he's able to compartmentalise. He's so motivated.
Yeah, certainly. You know, it's well documented. Páirc has come out and said it himself. I think, you know, 5, 6, 7 years ago, Páirc was obsessed with the game. He was, you know, just living and breathing it 24/7. I think he's learned over the last number of years just to kind of park it when he can. You know, I suppose he got married as well too at the end of last year. He's probably maturing a bit, and he's able to switch off a lot more than what he used to. I mean, Páirc, when he is training, when he's in that mode, he is super focused. He has incredible skill. I mean, the kind of standout thing with him really is the quality of his strike. If you remember the goal he got against Kilkenny last year in the championship when he was fouled and he was going to his knees, the power he generated from such a short swing. I mean, his striking is second to none in the country, and you know, look, the Bars have a big job to try and curtail him tonight.
He must have been a dream to coach when you were with Cork, was he?
Yeah, like, I mean, I was fortunate. I played with him, played against him, and you know, I had the joy of coaching him over the last couple of years. And you know, he's a role model for young guys, not only in the Glen but also in Cork. He's a type of guy that you would kind of say to an up-and-coming forward, go watch Páirc Horgan any opportunity you can, whether in training or in matches, because everything he does is about performing on a given night, and he certainly leaves no stone unturned when it comes to preparation for games.
Behind him tonight, well, the way we're looking at it anyway, centre forward, he may not start. Cork and minor last year for Cork. I only heard during the week that you're going managing, coaching the minors next year, so congrats on the gig. But he won't be available to you next year.
No, well, obviously inter-counties under 17, Ivan, whereas the club competition is under 18, so that's the difference.
But he's a player that I mean, we were watching him tonight, I'm sure he's going to make an impression.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, really looking forward to seeing him tonight. It's great to see players. Like it's probably a step up, right? There's a big difference between playing minor inter-county, minor club level, under 20 and senior, but let's also face it, a lot of the best players that we've seen coming into the game actually played at that age and learnt a lot of their trade at that age.
There's another minor on St Finbarrs bench this evening, Jack Cahalane. Two brothers on the team as well. I mean, they make up a huge amount of what's going on for the Bars, don't they? Oh
yeah, certainly. They're three big players for the Bars. Jack, he's not down to start tonight, but I'm sure he'll see game time. He was exceptional for Christians in the Harty Cup this year. Really spearheaded their attack. No doubt he'll be involved probably with the Cork 20s with Pat Ryan this year. He's a beautiful player to watch. He's kind of left over right, very talented, very direct when he does get the ball. And I would imagine the Bars will have some sort of a plan to get him involved tonight, because he is a real forward and certainly one to watch for the next few years.
There's a bit of juggling for them though, isn't there, with the football as well? I mean, it doesn't happen in every club, but were they playing last weekend?
Yeah, look, obviously, they're the sons of Niall Cahalane. Niall is played for Castlehaven for many years. They actually play senior football for Castlehaven and play
against
senior football for the Bars. So potentially they actually could play against the Bars, and I suppose it's testament to themselves. It's a lot of commitment. Castlehaven isn't exactly close to Torker, where the Bars are based, so again, great credit to them. And I'm looking forward to seeing them, and I'm looking forward to seeing Conor Cahalane as well. Like, he's a tear-away type of forward, if you like. And again, you'd like to think that you might even see Jack coming in tonight and just see again how will they perform at that level.
OK, well, let's see how they will perform at that level. It's their first game at Páirc under COVID regulations. A tiny crowd, but a huge rivalry. It's the Glen against the Bars. Time now to our commentary team again. Donal O'Grady and first, Ger Canning.
Yes, Ivan, the team still, as you can see, in their huddle. Well, the crowds may be missing for well-documented reasons, but at least the players of Glen Rovers and St Finbarrs will have the pleasure of playing the first match since the restart on a wonderful prepared pitch here at Páirc. It's looking first class. The wonderful voice of Sean O'Shea with our on the V, and there's our match referee. That's Cathal McAllister from Mahada, a club that suffered deep tragedy in the last couple of weeks with the death of Cork footballer Kieran O'Connor, and our deepest sympathy still to all of his family and all his club members. A wonderful Cork player of yesteryear, not too many years ago indeed. Right now the attention is on the Bars and the Glen. It's the first round of the Cork County Hurling Championship, and it is going to be the Bars who will play from left to right in the first half. And Donal O'Grady, there's quite a strong breeze there.
That's right, very, very strong. Jaron, I just noticed that Glen Rovers, Robert Downey, who is picked at number 3, but he's actually playing out in the half-back, and he has switched with David Dooling, and that's the first wide. But Bars will have to build up a strong lead here, I think, you know, for half-time, because really, that's really a gale.
That was Patrick Horgan with the opening attempt there, just going to the left-hand side. After decades of dominance by these two clubs in Cork, together with Blackrock, this is just the 7th meeting of the Glen and the Bars in the Cork Hurling Championship of the past 25 years. And right now trying to take possession. Dean Brosnan getting it across as far as Donald Cronin, the centre field player. The second attack by the Glen. And the referee has got a call the play back. So it's going to be a free in for Glen Rovers.
Yeah, that's one thing that the Bars will have to be very, very careful of. Nothing really, you know, that a little flick there, a late flick on Dean Brosnan, and he sent a beautiful pass across to Donald Cronin, and a fairly simple free now for Patrick Horgan to get off the mark.
Patrick Horgan playing in his 70th ever championship club game for Glen Rovers, 66 of those here in Cork, getting the opening point of the match. So 2 Horgans in the attack for Glen Rovers, one making his championship debut, one playing his 70th ever match. The Bars come looking. Bill Beckett, and Bill Beckett driving it just outside. Indeed, it was Cathal Cahalane who got there first, and Cahalane sustaining a hand injury as well.
Yeah, I noticed that Glen have brought Calvin Healy, number 2, in his back there. They've brought him across from right corner back to left corner to mark Conor Cahalane, who's fairly well mobile, and he can come out the field and run at defences, so obviously that's a tactic by the Glen.
Dean Brosnan getting it across over here as far as Dave Noonan. Noonan normally plays at left half back for the Glen team. Controlled here well. Glenn O'Connor trying to get the ball away, one of the many footballers and hurlers, dual players. Owen Keane leaving it here as far as Colm Keane, his younger brother. Beautiful ball in here towards Stephen Sherlock. Couldn't take control of it, however. Comes back out there towards Brian Moylan. Looking to strike the ball away out of danger. Flicking it out as far as the youngster Luke Horgan, a minor this year, scored a goal in 5 recently in a minor championship match against Middleton, so a big step up for him. He's well capable of it. Driven away by Damien Cahalane, going for a big one, looking for a score here and landing it beautifully. Damien Cahalane, the hurler and the footballer, was in championship football action last weekend, playing for Castlehaven, in action here with the Bars. Look how far out he was.
Yeah, tremendous score really, and he was a little doubt about him with a quad muscle injury after last week's football game, but he's well capable of scoring from long range, and especially with the Bars of the wind in the first half, he'll be trying to get as many chances as he can, knock him over the bar.
Dean Brosnan, Donald Cronin coming to help out, feeding that ball inside there towards Simon Kennefick. Back it comes again towards Patrick Horgan. Flicking it up into the air, and the umpire goes and waves it wide. Second wide of the match by Horgan, but he did score the Glen's only point so far, that from a free. Point apiece. Shane Hurley is the Bars goalkeeper. Caught brilliantly over there, well taken down. Robert Downey fed inside here. A one towards Conor Doris, being held off there by Jamie Burns. Cian Walsh coming across. Cian, last year's captain, hand passing it away out, but putting his side in danger. Well, that was a pass that didn't go exactly where it was intended. Owen Keane able to come, mop it up inside his own 20-metre line and drive it away down the field. Wind supported for the opening 30 minutes. Robert O'Mahony knocking it down. Colm Keane trying to get there. David Noonan now helped out. Once again, it's Brian Moylan mopping up an awful lot of the ball at centre half back in the early minutes of this match, running all the way in that time inside towards Conor Doris. Taking it away instead, however, is Simon Kennefick. Kennefick has the chance, great goal. Simon Kennefick, 5 minutes into the match. Well, his granddad would have been pleased to score that one. The great Christy Ring, his grandson here, gets the opening goal of the match.
Yeah, he picked that up about 45 metres out and made a great run and did it all himself, really. Barr should have been a bit stronger, I think, on the tackles early on, but what a great start by Simon Kennefick, as you said. Mary Ring's son, grandfather, of course, Christy, his emblem is on the Glen jerseys tonight, and for this championship to commemorate the centenary of his birth.
Well, he's looking down from on high, I have no doubt. John Neville here, the cornerback for the Bars, rocked by the concession. Bill Beckett. Beckett comes here as far as Neville again, down along the wings this time. Nobody there to collect it, however. And once more it is the impressive Brian Moylan. Calvin Healy getting it away from the Glen. One back by John Neville. Stands his ground, but the ball out over the far sideline. Scant attendance. Both sides limited. There's the team manager for the Glen, Richie Kelleher, his 7th year in charge. And what a successful period it has been. Winners here in Cork in 2015 and 2016 as well. Last 3 years in Cork has been dominated by Imokilly, the East Cork divisional side. 3 in a row they won. Patrick Horgan, beaten in the final last year by Imokilly, gets his first point from open play and his second of the match.
Yeah, operating at centre forward, Ger, and you know, any little loose balls around the place. Owen King gave him a little bit too much room on this sideline. They look for Patrick. Glen will look for Patrick all the time, and a super point.
Long puck out by Shane Hurley, the goalkeeper. Once again, Moylan comes across. Brian Hayes trying to limit his effectiveness, but Moylan gets it back into the middle once more. Batted down there, this time by Glenn O'Connor. Won by Adam O'Donovan for Glen Rovers. Taking it forward here with some style. Conor Doris trying to flick it away out of danger. There is Jamie Burns. Comes back out of the middle towards Donal Cronin again. Burns once more. And a hard pull that time. And the referee has got a call across young Luke Horgan and have a little word with him about that.
Yeah, he'd be lucky if he doesn't pick up a yellow card here. No need for it really. Jamie Burns lost control of the ball momentarily and then retrieved it, and Luke came in a little rash challenge and yellow card for him.
First of the match coming after 7.5 minutes of play.
Yeah, Conor Doris named at number 13. He's in at full forward on Jamie Burns, and of course Simon Kennefick, who has scored that goal, named at left half forward. He's playing at right corner forward for the Glen.
Free taken by Owen Finn. Finn hitting it well, but hitting it out to the right as well, and missing the opportunity to get his first point of the match. Son of a Bars legend, Tim Finn. He was a big absentee when the Bars were in the semi-final of the county last year, beaten on that occasion by Imokilly. In fact, both of these sides beaten last year in the championship. Cathal Hickey pucking it out for Glen Rovers. Looking towards Patrick Horgan, trying to pick him out. Instead, it's Damien Cahalan into the centre here towards Billy Hennessy, who's a UCC student, Fitzgibbon Cup winner. Helping him out on his stride here was Owen Keane. Back down it goes there. Bill Hennessy is still hanging around, edge of the exclusion zone. And eventually Glen Rovers managed to get it away through Robert Downey, the Cork inter-county player. Up as far as Luke Horgan, who was yellow carded just a moment ago here, angling this one well inside the left-hand upright and beautifully over the bar. His first point in club championship at senior level.
Yeah, Glen, or the Bars took too much out of that ball. You know, they went forward with it and a misplaced pass, and the Glen counter-attacked brilliantly, and another score here coming up.
Liam Cullen getting this one. The Bars at 6s and 7s, 2 in a row there for them. First Horgan and then Luke Cullen, and now it's 1-4 to a point.
Yeah, well, the Bars will have to they'll have to sort out their puck out strategy. That one previous to this, that score that Liam Cullen got. Shane Hurley a little bit inaccurate with the puck out, intercepted by the Glen, so they'll have to be a bit sharper with the puck outs and get the strategy of moving the ball from the fence a lot sharper than what they're doing at the moment.
Well, there's a point for Owen Finn. Let's have a good look at this goal again here, Donal.
Yeah, well, he did everything himself, really. He ran through the exclusion zone, and you know, Jamie Burns mistimed his tackle, really, and great shot. Maybe Shane Hurley should have come off the line a little bit, put him under pressure, but it was a great shot, great strike, reminiscent of the Grand Final.
Was there a case of him overhandling the ball?
Well, I think he may have been fouled on his way through, so, you know, you take the advantage when you get it, and he did everything that he needed to do, and great finish.
1-4 to 2 points, 10 minutes gone. There will be a water break around about a quarter of an hour into the match, of course. And there is Aidan Fitzpatrick, who's a son of Eamon, who was a very fine St Finbarrs player himself back in the 1970s and 80s. Brian Hayes, whose dad, Paddy Hayes, played for Cork and won an All-Ireland football medal. Luke Horgan, who's a young emerging star and certainly putting his stamp on this game, getting his second point of the match. Well, it's an inspired decision to put him in there from the very beginning, and he is causing problems.
Yeah, operating left half forward here, but again a misplaced pass by the Bars. They were in possession and they turned it over, and they've made a few now, 5 or 6 turnovers, and they really have to sort themselves out for this. Interesting to see how they'll move this ball out of the back now.
I think the expectation with Horgan coming in, that's Luke Horgan coming in, was that he would be available for puck outs. That's dropped by Stephen Sherlock, and the Glen are able to take command of it, in particular Robert Dowdy. Big towering figure. I wonder, is he going to be Cork's number 3 maybe this year, certainly in future years? Has the build and the bulk of the hurling to play at full back, certainly. Into Patrick Horgan, we know all about him, and he's now got a 3rd point, 2 of them from open play, and the Glen are lording it here, leading by a goal and 6 to 2 points.
Yeah, Robert Downey, great run out of the defence, but you know, not enough pressure being put on the Glen half-back line, and a simple ball up the line to Patrick Horgan, and a class point, just turned, lost on Keane, and no cover for the Bars, and great score from Patrick Horgan again.
From that Bars puck out, it's Damien Cahalane who followed it in down along the line, and from a very tricky angle, he scored a magnificent point, his 2nd of the match so far. Their inter-county star playing at half-back, but also able to go forward and take his opportunities. Brilliantly done.
Yeah, great score from Damien again from a very narrow angle, and they'll, you know, with the breeze, they'll have to drive forward, and as you said, there'll be a water break in a few minutes, and I think the Bars will have to use that as a little timeout really to get organised, because at the moment, as you said, Glen are lording things here in the middle. Their half-back line is completely on top, and the Bars will have to find a way through that if they want to keep in contention.
Adam O'Donovan there in the white helmet, who's a cousin of Tomás Mulcahy, a former Glen star, watching it eventually come out towards Conor Doris. Up into the air it goes, and they punch the air inside because they've got another one, and it's Conor Doris this time. 5th time playing in the championship against the Bars. Man who's got a goal and 6 in the past in his previous encounters. Make it now a goal and 7, which is what the Glen have got here against 3 points for St Finbarrs. Colm Keane. Blocked down that time. Damien Cahalane's delivery. Once again, it is Billy Hennessy picking it up here. A man who can exert a big influence. He's got a big future as well, and that's an illustration of just what he's able to do. Versatile player, half-back, midfielder, you name it, Billy Hennessy can do it. They needed that score.
Yeah, badly needed, Ger, and you know, they'll need to tack on another few points now. Glen will be very, very comfortable. I'm sure their manager, Richie Keller, will be very pleased as coming up to water break. They're well on top.
Broken down here to David Noonan. Noonan, who was in Boston after last year's final. Back he came. He's back in the thick of the action, and he's put that one over the bar. Well, it was COVID-19 that was one of the reasons why he decided to come back to Cork, and back he is in the thick of the action and scoring fine points like that. This time it's collected by Brian Hayes. Hayes off his left-hand side. That looks good. Well on its way. Beautifully over the bar. We're seeing some lovely scores here.
Yeah, very positive reaction there by Brian Hayes. Just won the ball and just turned inside. Had a quick look and knocked it over. But the Bars really need, when they're coming up, next couple of scores, they need to put a bit more pressure on the Glen half-back line and really get dug into the game.
Cathal Hickey, who made his debut for the Glen back 10 years ago, up as far as Patrick Horgan. Horgan fouled. Billy Hennessy questions it. Cathal McAllister, the referee from Ahada in East Cork, in no doubt.
Yeah, straight frontal tackle, Ger. You know, you're not going to get away with that. Should have just put the hands out, and Patrick Horgan had knocked the ball beyond him. Just obstruct him, basically. There's no obstruction rule in hurling. Just obstruct him, basically, and contest the ball then. But not a simple chance for Patrick Horgan here, right in front of the goal.
He's got 3 points already in the match. And this time the breeze mustn't have done him an awful lot of good, because he's missed a second one. And the referee has decided that's the time when we're going to take a break. So at the present time, it is Glen Rovers who are leading by a goal and 8 to 5 points. Back to the studio.
Yeah, that's been helter-skelter really for the Glen, hasn't it, Donal Logue? They've had, I was just counting there, 6 scorers.
Yeah, very impressive event. I think there's a stark difference between how both teams are using the ball. I know the Bears are playing with the wind, but you'd have to say that the Glen are using the ball way better. And I think it was the 6th point that Páirc Horgan scored was a perfect example of that. It was kind of a long direct ball from the Bears into the edge of the square. There was 4 Glen players around 2 Bears players, and the Glen won possession and transitioned the ball extremely well from defence into attack. I think Donal O'Grady was very kind in the way he was describing the Bears failing in that part of the field.
That goal, that bullet of a shot by Simon Kennefic, it was a serious shot, but did he catch the ball 3 times, do you think?
Yeah, I think looking back at it, maybe Cahill missed it. I thought he definitely caught the ball 3 times, but look, you can't fault Simon for that. He saw the opportunity, he went through the centre. You know, the Glen have gone through now 2 or 3 times straight through the centre of the Bears defence, so something the Bears need to tighten up on.
OK, well, they did start to get going there just before the water break, so let's go back to Ger.
Yeah, they're ready to go back into action once again. It's going to be a puck out, and it'll be Shane Hurley who will take it. Shane, who's the grandson of the former president of the club, Donal Hurley. Taken neatly there by Brian Hayes, back out towards Colm Keane. Keane trying to cut inside and drive it straight over the bar. It's one they certainly need.
Much better play from the Bears there now, Ger. You know, right down on top of Brian Hayes, caught it very, very well. He's very strong in the air, just offloaded the pass and a good score, but they'll have to do more than that. And maybe that little water break that was there to act as a timeout, and that they'll be able to organise themselves a little bit better. But they'll definitely have to tighten up on the Glen defence, who's coming out with the ball too easily altogether.
Again, it's the Glen pushing forward here, getting it as far as their main man, Páirc Horgan. Having missed a couple from frees, that one is absolutely right, straight between the uprights. A 4th for Horgan, another for the Glen.
Yeah, that's the difference between the team, really. Any ball that Horgan gets, that was a fantastic point, up over the shoulder, you know, almost 55, 60 metres out against the breeze and straight over the bar.
Billy Hennessy cut out here by Adam Lynch. Stephen MacDonald unable to play at the moment because of an injury, which he's had for quite a while now. They get that one forward towards Simon Kennefic, the goal scorer after 5 minutes. Inside intender there for Conor Doris, being marked by Burns. Burns trying to keep off Conor Doris and win possession back. John Neville, nicknamed Hammer by his pals. Eventually that ball is hammered away out of trouble there. Down towards Brian Hayes once again. Taking it instead is Robert Downey. Downey trying to force his way out. Support available for him there as well. Real stalemate. Eventually it spills back out, but only as far as Adam O'Donovan. Man had been playing midfield for the last 2 years for the Glen. Left half back tonight. Mention of left half backs. Here's Damien Cahalane, 2 points already in the game. Challenged there by Simon Kennefic. One back by Kennefic. UCC student on his way. Very good play. A quick look over his shoulder, and then he knocks it high up and over. Sensible play by Simon Kennefic, who's now got a goal and a point.
Again, at the risk of repeating myself, Gerard, the Bears had that ball, you know, it should have been moved much quicker from defence. They're just moving it too slowly. And the Glen, tigerish really, their half forwards are tigerish against the Bears, and you know, just turned it over, and a simple point.
Glen pick it up again here in the middle of the park. Donal Cronin as effective as ever. Up as far as Liam Collin. He's a point scorer already. Billy Hennessy is after him, trying to catch him. Still it's Collin. Shortens the grip on the stick inside the right hand upright and over the bar. A 2nd point for Liam Collin. His 3rd year playing at this level, and he certainly has mastered it at this stage.
Yeah, excellent point again, and you know, had no catch left, had caught the ball twice and then knocked it over. Very reminiscent of Simon Kennefic as he ran through, so obviously that's the tactic with the Glen that they've been practicing.
Wonderful play again by Brian Moylan to win that one, to knock it out to Donal Cronin to begin the next attack. Owen Key now for the Bars, in as far as Owen Finn. Point scorer from a free earlier on. Down along it goes towards Robert O'Mahony, who won a football county here with the Bars 2 years ago when they beat Duhallow in the final. Both these sides back at Páirc for the first time since 2018. Dean Brosnan, huge distance out, 45 metres or more from his own goal when he struck that one, but missed the opportunity, and that's 4 wides now by the Glen.
Yeah, well, we got an indication of breeze was there for Dean Brosnan. You know, 5 points again he scored when the Bars met the Glen in 2017. Normally chips in with 3 or 4 points, and you saw the wind just held up the ball and just drew it away to the right hand side of the post.
Certainly Damien Cahalane is trying to use that breeze, trying to link up there with Stephen Sherlock, much better known, I suppose, throughout the rest of the country as a footballer. He played in the Cork football team's championship side last year for Ronan McCarthy's team. Played on 6 occasions, scoring 4 points. Line ball taken by David Noonan, and not the best, not one he'll want to remember in a hurry. Pressure will be back on. Wind is with the Bars, but the lead is very definitely with the Glen, 111 to 6 points. It's a good tally to put up after just 21 minutes.
Yeah, Gerard, what the Bars need to do is they need to move the ball quickly to their half forward line and try and take on the Glen defenders then by running at them and, you know, create the odd goal chance, put a good score there, but they're, you know, the Bars aren't scoring often enough, really. You know, just 7 points on the board, playing against a strong breeze. You'll be very, very pleased if you're a Glen supporter.
Second point for Owen Finn, playing in what is his 26th ever championship match for his club. Cathal Hickey retained brilliantly. They're so careful in the way in which they move the ball forward, Glen Rovers. That's Dean Brosnan. Up it goes here towards Patrick Horgan. Playing it back cleverly as far as Adam O'Donovan, and O'Donovan tries to split the post, but it's gone to the left this time instead.
Yeah, the Glen have moved Patrick Horgan now into the edge of the square. I think they reckon maybe if they can get a goal, maybe before half-time, might kill the match. But the Bars really have to up the pace, and they have to, you know, you saw that puck out from Cathal Hickey. 10 yards space the Glen player had right when he caught the ball. I mean, that's not good enough at this level. You have to be really, really up tight on people, and you know, the Bars haven't got that right. Another puck out, simple puck out now to Robert Downey, and he sets them up in attack again.
Down it goes once again, but out over the far sideline before Simon Kenneth can get to it. It's 30 years, you know, since the Bars made the final here in Cork last, and their last win was back in 1988. And that's what he's hoping for, Aidan Fitzpatrick, to rekindle those great days. The Glen were captained back in '88 by the goalkeeper, Ger Cunningham.
His nephew was Brian Hayes, playing on the 40 for the Bars tonight. But that sideline there now, you know, really, Bars should be quicker thinking. Shane Hurley, the keeper, should have gone out the end line and just picked that up and then delivered it out. They're putting themselves in trouble a little bit. The Glen are very, very comfortable because the Bars are allowing them to be so.
Once again, it's Damien Cahalane to take this one. Not making the best connections. Once again, it's Billy Hennessy taking it towards Brian Hayes, picked up here by Owen Finn. Finn advancing now. 2, 3 Glen Rovers players near him, but there's a loose man inside. It's Owen Keane, and Owen Keane manages to get it right between the uprights. Very good score by Keane.
Yeah, the Bars worked that well. Owen Finn just ran into the fence, and Owen Keane, who had come up from centre back, and a little bit of himself, a little tussle between himself and Robert Downey there. Carl McAllister, the referee's going into the umpires to see, but I think there's a little bit of a shoulder here and a shoulder there, and Owen Keane has gone down just after getting that score.
Owen Keane, who is concentrating on hurling this year. He had been a dual player, won that county football medal just 2 years ago. So right now, Cathal McAllister having a word with the umpires. Now let's see. Top left-hand corner, there we are. Owen Keane, the player involved, with Robert Downey. What did the umpire see?
2 yellows probably, Ger, right? But I didn't see much happening there really. You know, it was just a bump and a bump, and
it's a red card. It's much more than a bump. The referee has decided, having been briefed by the umpires, and Robert Downey gets the red card with 25 minutes gone.
Interesting to see that again now, Ger.
It's the use of the butt of the hurling.
Yeah, it was more of a push than anything else. You know, but that's the problem. If you use the hurling anyway now, right, you're going to pick up a red. I didn't see it as a strike. I just saw it more or less as a push, but obviously the umpire saw it differently.
It might well level proceedings here pretty quickly as Owen Finn advances, and Owen Finn scores. 3 points for Finn, 2 of them from play, and now it's 111 to 9 points. The Glen with 14 men, the Bars with the full complement. The Bars have had the breeze for all of the 25 minutes so far, and it really is a very stiff breeze indeed. And there's Robert Downey, looks crestfallen, but he's seen red, and the Glen are having to play the rest of this match down a man. Well, it'll be one of the talking points for our panel at half-time with Ivan, Donalogue and Kieran. Once again, Billy Hennessy driving it forward there, up over towards Stephen Sherlock. Referee's whistle sounds.
Yeah, Conor Doris there was a little bit loose. Conor Doris, number 13 with the Glen, a little bit loose when in that tackle late, and the referee has given a free from because there was no advantage to it.
Well, the free is going to be inside the bar 65-metre line. It's going to be taken by Owen Finn.
No, he should have the distance really, Gerard. There's a strong breeze, and if he gets this, there'll only be 4 points behind with you know, 4 or 5 minutes still to go in the first half.
In his 10th championship season with the Bars, he drives it up, but he's driven it to the right, and he's missed.
Yeah, he needed to drive that to the left-hand side because the wind is bringing things away to the right-hand side. That's the second free that he missed, and you know, that was a valuable miss there. If you can describe it as that. Should have done a little bit better, I think.
Cathal Hickey pucking it out. Intended for Donald Cronin. Smash back again. David Noonan trying to pick it up. Helped out here by Calvin Healy for the Glen. Healy gets away. After him goes Conor Cahalane, who has yet to exert a big influence on this match. Likewise, Stephen Sherlock. There's plenty of time. Bill Beckett hasn't really been in it, but he's in it now. And he puts it in. Stopped by the goalkeeper. But it's tapped over the bar, and a point has resulted.
And definitely, I think Bill Beckett, a good run across and a nice score there. But the Bars have responded well. You know, the sending off can sometimes galvanise the team that that the player is sent off from. But it has definitely given the Bars a pep in their step.
It's now a 4-point game following that point by Bill Beckett, who's missed a lot of hurling in the last 14 months because of injury. Billy Hennessy, constantly involved, a difficult one for Robert O'Mahony to contain. David Dooling has gone back into that full-back position for most of this match. No surprise there. Richie Kelleher will have some decisions to make with his selectors Dermot O'Callaghan, Ian Lynham, Graham Callanan and Gavin Moylan at half-time. Big half-time coming up for them. Dermot O'Callaghan there alongside him. From the puck out, hands up into the air, won by the Glen once again. Beautifully taken down to Horgan, back from whence it came, which was from Dean Brosnan's catch. Over here towards Conor Doris, going low to pick it up, off his left-hand side. In there towards Simon Kennefick, runs on instead, however. And it's Shane Hurley, the goalkeeper for the Bars, getting it downfield towards Brian Hayes. Hayes taking on his man Brian Moylan and beating him for once. Hayes feeding it forward towards Owen Keane. Helping out here is Stephen Sherlock. Dropping it in short towards Beckett, who scored just a moment ago there. David Dooling trying to take it out. Foul committed. Free out to Glen Rovers. Yeah, that 11 to 10 points.
That was a chance for the Bars there to push it down to 11 points, and they missed that, and they need to work the ball. They have Shane Hurley should be conscious of the fact that they have an extra man on defence. The Glen have moved players back. Adam O'Donovan is now playing right half back. Owen Keane seems to be gone up left half forward for the Bars, and they've moved. They have an extra player there in the middle of the defence, and he's acting as a sweeper, and the Bars will have to move the ball that little bit crisper, I think. They're still giving away lots of possession to the Glen.
2 minutes of additional time is indicated by the fourth official. Patrick Horgan hasn't scored for a while, but he got 4 points earlier on, and the referee has decided there's a foul there, and it's got to be a free for the Bars.
Yeah, I'd like to see that again, Ger, because I felt that all that happened was that the Glen just set up a screen, so to speak, and Páirc Horgan benefited from that. It's a smart move. They use a lot in Gaelic football where the centre forward runs across and the wing forward runs across from him. You just see that ball came back now, and he just I didn't see that as a foul, to be honest with you, but McAllister saw otherwise, and chance now for the Bars to get another score and maybe just bring it down to a 3-point game just before half time.
Well, based on the clock in the stadium here, which shows 30 minutes and 40 seconds, of course, because of the water break nowadays, there's certain uncertainty about how much is to be added on, but I would imagine it's about another 60 to 70 seconds as that one is driven beautifully over the bar. Another point by Damien Cahalane, a third for him. So now it's a one-score game, a goal between the teams. The only goal of the match so far scored by Simon Kennefick early on.
Excellent score by Damien Cahalane, and maybe that he'll take over the long-range free duties now. And minute or so left now, Ger, and the Bars will have to push on really and tighten up a lot and hope to make it into a real contest against the fourth.
It's Horgan, and he's getting quite a bit of treatment down there, helped by Dean Brosnan, another Cork player of inter-county standard who's played for the county. Back towards Horgan again it comes. The mist begins to come down. Horgan's got it right, and it's over the bar. 5 for Páirc Horgan, another one for Glen Rovers. And now it is a goal and 12 to 11 points.
Yeah, masterclass in point scoring there by Páirc Horgan. But again, the Bars are giving the Glen too much room. Conor Doris there at 2 metres from Jamie Burns. You know, when there's a ball being contested, every defender has to be tight on his man, and the Bars are simply not doing that.
Adam O'Donovan sending it back downfield once again into no man's land, but the referee says that's it for the opening 30-plus minutes. And it has been a very, very competitive first half here. Páirc Horgan scored 5 points. Simon Kennefick has got a goal and a point, but the Glen have come back. But the big story really, after 25 minutes, Robert Downey getting a red card at Páirc Uí. We're at half-time. It's Glen Rovers, 1 goal and 12 points. St. Finbarrs, 11 points. We'll be back in just a moment.
Welcome back to Saturday GAA Live now. 14-man Glen Rovers are 4 points up on St. Finbarrs. It's 112 to 11 points. Kieran, it looked for a long time that it was going to be one-sided, but that turned fairly quickly.
Yeah, I mean, we were discussing in the studio. We were saying that this is looking like a 10-point victory from the Glen at the start, but the Bars, they fought their way back into it, and look, they're certainly in contention now.
One thing that made it a little bit more competitive, though, Logue, was that sending off for Robert Downey. What was your take on it?
Yeah, absolutely, Evan. I think it's a big blow to the Glen. I think from a couple of things worth saying about it, I think Rob is asking for trouble, right? When he's leading with Hurley, but it is harsh. I think Owen Keane more than made the most of it, but by the letter of the law, it is a sending off. Like there isn't a place in the game for jabbing with the Hurley, and that's obviously what the umpire said to Kyle. He took his time, he went in, but it's harsh, and I tell you, it's a harsh lesson for Rob Downey, because you could see a situation now where the Glen were very comfortably in the lead, going on to win the first round of a championship, but it's made things a lot harder now for his teammates.
Yes, we talked about the rivalry between these two teams, and I would hazard a guess you'd see a lot worse than that in games between these two teams over the years. Yeah, certainly.
It was harsh. I think, Rob, he learned a lesson from it. Owen went in, experienced player, gave him a little bit of a shoulder, and he led with the Hurley. It's a real tough one, because you see it most times in club league games and stuff like that. You'll often get 2 yellows for it. But look, the referees, the umpires, they picked it up, and he saw red, and it's a big blow for the Glen.
Must be the umpires. Has to be the umpires. Must have given Kyle that instruction.
Yeah,
Kyle
well, it was
normally
off the ball, so it's not like
off the ball. Yeah, like Kyle normally has a stronger stomach for situations like that. But by the letter of the law, it is a red card.
Okay, well, we have a quick break to get away, but we will be back with more analysis and the second half shortly.
Welcome back to Páirc Chaoimh, where it's the first round of the Cork County Hurling Championship. It's Glen Rovers against the Bars. It's the Glen by 4 points at the start of the second half. They will have the wind behind them for the next 30 minutes, but the Bars outscore them by 5 points to 1 for the last 10 minutes of that first half. With me is Donal O'Grady. No changes that I can see, Donal.
No changes, Ger, but Dean Brosnan has gone to midfield for the Glen. Started right half forward. He's gone in because they have only 14 men. They're playing a two-man inside forward line. Conor Doris and Simon Kennefick are the two inside, and Patrick Horgan is operating back out at the centre forward, and he's been marked by Glen O'Connor, who's come in from the right-hand side to mark him.
It's interesting because in the past, Damien Cahalane has marked the great Patrick Horgan. Horgan got 5 points in that first half. Right now, it is Stephen Sherlock who's trying to get possession. Likewise, Liam Collin for Glen Rovers. Collin emerging with it. We've had some mist and rain during the half-time break. That's vanished now, thankfully. Sun is back out again. And here's a goal chance. And once again, it's Simon Kennefick, availing of a muddle at the back. And Simon Kennefick, in the opening stages of the second half, with the Bars at 6s and 7s, has coolly planted it into the back of the Bars net.
Yeah, mix up in defence there. You know, that's very poor at this level. Two players going for the one ball, and Simon Kennefick just dropped inside and hoped that it would happen. And an excellent finish from him. He, you know, as you said, a little bit of drizzle made the grass a little bit greasy, and he knocked the ball down, gave Shane Hurley no chance. And that's a great start for the Glen, you know, especially when you're 14 men. That gives them a nice little cushion now, right? And it puts it up to the Bars, playing against a strong breeze. But again, Bars, you know, the architects of their own downfall. They had a ball in the Glen half back line, were in possession, lost it, and the Glen went down, and then, you know, a fairly easy goal, really.
John Neville being attended to, Aidan Fitzpatrick, the Bars manager, with his selection committee there. And, you know, you can plan all you want during the 10 minutes of the half-time break, and then something calamitous like that happens to your team in the back row within 2 minutes of the second half. And all of a sudden, there's a gap, a wide gap between the two teams.
Yeah, but the Bars are playing Cian Walsh, who's number 2. He's loose now. He's playing as a sweeper, and, you know, he's out now out in the wing looking for a free ball, and you know, they need to move the ball a bit quicker and attack the Glen and run at the Glen if they have any chance.
John Neville trying to set up the next attack, this time for the Bars. The Glen, of their 2 goals and 12 points, 2-11 has come from play. Admirable stuff by the Black. It's north side against south side on the banks of the River Lee, and there's a foul on Adam Lynch, and it results in a free downfield. So an opportunity for Patrick Horgan to come back out as we watch this in reprise once again. And it'll be a long-range free, which Horgan is quite capable of putting it over the bar, even from the distance confronting him right now, which is quite a distance out.
Yeah, strong play by the Glen defence there. Adam Lynch, very tough play, and came out with the ball determined and committed. And if he keeps this to the left-hand post, it'll just drift in for him.
100 metres out, I make it. 100 metres, resulting in another brilliant score by Horgan. 6 for him on the night.
Yeah, and that's the trouble when you're playing Glen Rovers. Any free that you concede, 100 metres, 120 metres from goal, Patrick Horgan is well capable of striking that, particularly with the breeze. And, you know, that just keeps the scoreboard ticking over for them. And, you know, the Bars have it all to do, really. But they'll have to tighten up and really run at the Glen if they to have any sort of a chance to pull this game out of fire.
Stephen Sherlock. It's one of 3 games that each team will have in this group. The other teams in the group are Páirc and Carrick Tuchel. Sherlock fouled, free in, awarded by the match referee Cathal McAllister, who dismissed Robert Downey after 25 minutes. A straight red card. So the Glen playing with 14. The Bars have the full 15 on the park, but they have a huge task on their hands right now. Free in coming up, which Owen Finn will take. Score of 3 points in the first half. The first of those was from a placed ball. And that one between the uprights, is it? No, it's not. He's missed it. Another wide, second wide of the second half by the Bars.
Yeah, and they can't ill afford that, Ger. Every chance they get now, they have to tag on scores, because every chance that they miss, there'll be a lessening of morale, and it gives the Glen a little bit of confidence.
Back up as far as Colm Keane, it comes again from that tap down by Damien Cahalane with a very, very good first half. Here he is again. 3 points in the opening 30 minutes, and that one has gone to the right. So 3 in a row gone wide by St Finbarrs. And they can't be quite as wasteful as that. Each team had 5 wides during the opening 30 minutes. The sun is strongly into the eyes of anybody on this side of the field. Missed in the air this time by Cahalane. On come the Glen once again, looking strong, looking powerful. And that shot there by Dean Brosnan. The referee has got to bring it back anyway, because an advantage had been awarded to Glen Rovers, nothing accruing of it. So it'll be a free in for the Glen, and once again Páirc Horgan to step up and take it.
Yeah, I think Dean Brosnan knew that he had a shot to nothing really, and if it went over, fine, and if it went wide, and that's his forte, really running at the fence. He's very, very strong, very quick, and himself and Páirc Horgan have always created great problems for the Bars when they've met over the years. But again, simple chance for Páirc Horgan now. He'll nail this, I think, and that'll push them 6 points ahead. 9 points ahead, sorry.
He rarely misses, so it's a 7th point of the match for Páirc Horgan. And 2:13 to 11 points, the scoreboard reading. Shane Hurley going short as far as Cian Walsh. Played in the centre of the field for the footballers Porky Reen last weekend in their opening round of the Football Championship against Ballincollig, which they successfully negotiated, having difficulty with this one, however. And it's Adam O'Donovan once again, playing it back out as far as Donal Cronin, vastly experienced man. Hopped awkwardly there in front of Shane Hurley, did well, gets it out to Owen Keane, scorer in the first half. Through the middle is Billy Hennessy, was unmarked for a moment at least. Simon Kennefic trying to close into him. The referee has allowed an advantage. He goes forward. Still they attack. Promising move, but the referee's got to bring it back now. Even though the ball ended up in the back of the net, the referee had been awarding an advantage all the while there. So a foul as that was developing there. Owen Keane had been penalised, or had been fouled rather. In the end, it is the Glen who are penalised.
Yeah, maybe the Bars will feel that Carl McAllister, the referee, could have left it go on for another 5 seconds and then brought it back, because the ball was transferred into Robert O'Mahony and he stuck it in the back of the net. But Bars have no option now. They're being led by 9 points, 2-3. You know, Damien Cahalane has come up, and there's virtual certainty he's going to try for a goal.
So Damien Cahalane with 6 players in front of him there on the goal area. Cathal McAllister saying go. Damien does, strikes, stopped by the goalkeeper, Cathal Hickey, and they managed to get that ball away safely out of danger. Out to Liam Collin it comes, and Collin will run with it and then deliver the ball back downfield once again. Simon Kennefic, the one who was trying to win it. In the end, it went off. This is that free again here.
Yeah, I wasn't struck. You know, I need to be struck high, I think. You know, and you know, with a great deal more force. Didn't really get hold of it, and Glen on the attack now again.
Jack Cahalane is about to come on. So 3 Cahalanes involved with the Bars tonight. That was Glen O'Connor trying to get the ball away.
And you would have to commend Glen Rovers, Ger. You know, their forwards are really tackling very, very, very hard, you know, especially when they're down to 14 men. They're putting great pressure on the Bars, not allowing them to link up with each other, and it's really putting the inconvenience in the players, and they're not able to get the possession into the middle of the field. And I think the Bars will have to drop Conor Cahalane out to the middle maybe, and hope that he can get a bit of possession and run at the defence.
Dean Brosnan, meanwhile, eases into the shot and comfortably puts it over. It's his first point of the match. So now 5-6 forwards in all have scored. That was a lovely score taken by Dean Brosnan, the teacher in Scull Oliver here in Cork. School that's produced many players who are playing down there for the Glen tonight. Luke Horgan. Well, he's been quiet for a while. Started the game in a blaze of glory with a couple of points right at the beginning. This puck out comes out as far as Cian Walsh. Walsh in there towards the full forward, Robert O'Mahony, the army man. Couldn't hold on to it. Instead, it's driven away back downfield again. Holding on to it here, Owen Finn. 65 metres from the Glen goal. Hoping it'll come inside that right-hand upright, but it doesn't oblige. Frustrating night for him so far. Stays at 215 to 11 points. Be interesting to see if Halan now can exert an influence, but he's only a minor. He scored a goal and 3, I think it was, recently for a very fine St Finbarrs minor team, which has one Ben Cunningham in it, who happens to be Jer's son. Very, very promising young player as well. Simon Kennefick, fresh from that goal he got, started the second half, and 2 in all. He's got 2 goals and a point so far. Some night for him. Shane Hurley through the centre, attacking that one there, Adam O'Donovan. Patrick Horgan looks to his right, gives it off as far as Colin, and Colin looks at the target. It's a beautiful score. Wonderful combined play by the Glen attack. A third for Liam Colin, made for him there by the brilliant Patrick Horgan. What about that for a hand pass?
Yeah, lovely vision by Horgan. Just you know, he knew the attention would be on him, and just little slip pass out to Liam Colin and straight over the bar.
Adam O'Donovan goes back, collects, takes. Back into the 2-man inside forward line again. They're really having fun now down there. Conor Doris. Well, he realised he should have been able to add to the scoring tally for the Glen. Stays at 216 to 11 points. Yeah, it's a very handsome lead.
Yeah, but he's great supply there, the way that ball hopped in front of him, about 10 metres in front of him, and he was able to come onto it at pace. And, you know, the Glen really, you know, what are they up? 10 points up, 11 points up. Really, they're very, very comfortable, and but they're still working very, very hard and putting a lot of pressure on the Bars. And the Bars are getting sporadic points. That's the first point since half-time. And, you know, the scoring rate for the Bars just isn't high enough, and their defence isn't tight enough. So you'd have to say that the Glen are very, very comfortable at the moment.
And it's taken them 12 minutes total of the second half to get that first point. Cathal Hickey poking it out down towards Simon Kennefick once again. Damien Cahalan going back, minding the house, taking it away, keeping it away from Donal Cronin. You would think that it was the Glen who had the extra man and not the Bars. Robert O'Mahony going chasing after Calvin Healy. O'Mahony wins it this time. Gets it across the face of goal towards that 13-metre line, towards Stephen Sherlock, trying to help out Colm Keane, but taking the danger there. Once again, it's Calvin Healy. Strong play, really good play. That time it's Simon Kennefick looking at his handiwork, but it drops short. Hurley once again back out, this time towards Conor Cahalan. Not having the best of nights so far.
Yeah, that ball just slipped away from him, and maybe, as I said, the rain early at half-time made it a little bit greasy. But I think, you know, at this stage, it's a question of trying to contain the Glen now. You know, they have loads of space, but they're working very, very hard. Their effort is very good, and the Bars just haven't made any impression up front.
Driven back in once again, but once more cut out by Damien Cahalan, who's almost playing as a sweeper back there. Out to John Neville. 40 minutes into the second half, they need to get the next score. They need to make it count. And that time it's Jack Cahalan picking himself up. Cahalan turning inside, giving it to Billy Hennessy. He's got the only point for the Bars so far at the start of the second half. And that one has been saved, and the referee's going to bring back the play. And for mouthing, the referee is going to bring the ball into a more favourable position. From a Bars point of view, it'll be right in front of the goal. Billy Hennessy takes some of the credit there for that, but Jack Cahalan's run just shows us what he's capable of. A very exciting young performer.
Brian Moylan just holding on to Billy Hennessy there, held onto his arm, and not sure why he was protesting the referee. Simple decision for Colin McAllister, and the ball moved into the middle.
Owen Finn decides, let's tap it over the bar. Second time that they've had a free from about the 20-metre line during the second half.
Well, 9 points down, Gerra, coming up to a water break now, and I think that that'll give the Glen time to reorganise again. But you know, they're very, very comfortable. 9 points up, playing with the breeze, even though they have only 14 men. I think the Bars need to get a major score maybe before the water break, give them a little bit of heart for the last 15 minutes.
Owen Finn, it may not be a major score, it may be a minor one as it, but they could do with it, but they get nothing out of it. Well, the wides have been building up during the second half from a Bars point of view. They've had too many of those, and 10 in all, 5 in the second half. And the referee, I think, well, no, I thought he was going to going to call for a water break, but he's not. So instead coming on is Ethan Toomey, who's another young player, only 18 years of age. Ethan.
Yeah, Ethan was on the Cork
team going off his Colin Keane.
Normally plays around the midfield area.
Well, these are two very promising young players they've just brought on, Jack Cahalane and Ethan Toomey. Meanwhile, it's the Glen who are trying to negotiate their way through that mass Bars defence.
Finbarrs substitution, number 10, Colin Keane, has been replaced by number 24, Ethan Toomey.
Public address just making the announcement there of the change. Referee going to roll this ball in between two players. Billy Hennessy trying to win it there. Luke Horgan. Eventually John Neville knocks it back out, but beyond a support player there. So it's gone for a line ball for the Glen, and the referee, looking at his watch, thought he was going to call for the break at this point in time. Richie Kelleher will be very, very happy with the way things have gone in this second half. They were just 4 points up at half-time, and now they're leading by 9.
Yeah, I know, and Finn, who was playing midfield for the Bars, has gone out to right half forward now, and Ethan Toomey is playing in the middle of the field.
Well, let's see if those changes will have the desired effect. Luke Horgan back. And that effort is going to drop short into the waiting hands of Shane Hurley. Hurley, who's the UCC Fitzgibbon Cup goalkeeper as well. They have 2 players in their ranks who won Fitzgibbon Cup back at the start of the year. And that's gone out of play, and that's a waste.
Yeah, that was very poor play by the Bars. John Neville found himself a little bit isolated, but he should have given the ball straight back to Shane Hurley and let him change direction instead, or given the ball straight away to Cian Walsh. Delayed on both counts and then knocked the ball out over the line, and that just compounds the misery for St. Finbarrs.
Adamo Donovan's puck, sideline cut. Bars get there first. There was a push, the referee decides. Free to Bars. You're watching a match involving what is traditionally 2 of the great Cork sides, the Bars and the Glen, along with the Rockies, as Ethan Toomey knocks this one into the hands there of Brian Hayes, and Hayes this time hits it outside the post and not inside. Has to be content with just the 1 point he got in the opening half, and the referee has now decided it's time for the water break, coming after 18 minutes. The Bars have it all to do, Donald.
Yeah, 9 points down, Ger. You know, they're playing against a strong breeze. Even though the Glen have 14 players, their forwards are working very, very, very hard, and making sure that the Bars can't build any platform, and the Glen defence is really very tight, and you would say that they're very comfortable against the Bars forward line.
One little thing which we might reflect on, because not everybody is au fait with what goes on in Cork hurling over the years. We've got the 3 big clubs traditionally who've been the dominant forces all through over the years. But from 1922 to 1992, the big 3 in Cork, that's the Rockies, the Bars, the Glen, they won some 60 of 80 club championships. But since 92, 12 different teams have won the Sean O'Murphy Cup, including the 3 I've just mentioned there. So things have changed fundamentally over the last quarter of a century in particular.
Yeah, I think they have, and I think that transport, I think, is a big thing, because, you know, the Bars, the Glen and Blackrock would always do get players maybe from other counties that came in, and, you know, with the road network now, you know, it is very easy for the player to get back to Tipperary or Kilkenny or Wexford or whatever, you know, but the big clubs were beneficiaries of these down through the years. But what you'd have to say is that looking at the Glen over there, they were champions in 15 and 16, and I would maintain that they were the most consistent team. Made a final last year, beaten by, when they were beaten in the 2 championships in 17 and 18, I think, you know, they were only beaten by a point, and I would put them as the top club team. I know Kilkenny dominated for the last 3 years, but they're a divisional side. We're almost an inter-county team, if you like. So really, the Glen have been the top club team over the last 6-7 years.
And they will be the team to beat, you can be certain, as this championship develops.
Well, you'd have to say, Ger, that they're very, very comfortable tonight, and you'd have to be impressed by their work rate, the work rate of their half forwards and their full forwards when the opposition get the ball. They're not allowing them to come out with it, they're forcing mistakes, and their defence is very, very wholehearted, you know, determined and committed, and they're not giving the Bars a look in up front.
Their use of possession is admirable as well, but right now it's up to the Bars. They've got about 10 minutes plus maybe a bit of stoppage time to do something about the imbalanced scoreline as Billy Hennessy comes in and cracks it up and puts the ball wide. After all of that, that's hard to believe. He looked perfectly positioned. It was a case of, will it be a point, will it be a goal maybe?
Yeah, well, you had 2 players running parallel with him off to his right and should have just passed the ball. That's the 12th wide from the Bars now, and you know, they're creating problems for themselves. Billy might have been better off just to push the ball to his right-hand side there and go on himself and maybe take the return, and went for the speculative shot in the end, and wide. That's 12 wides now. I think that's 7 wides in the second half, and you know, you won't win any championship matches when you're creating mistakes like that.
But what about that fine catch there from the puck out by Luke Horgan, justifying his inclusion? He's a big man and a man for the future for Glen Rovers. Meanwhile, Patrick Horgan just tags on another one. He does it with such efficiency. 8 points in all tonight so far. Hurley easily picking out Cian Walsh. Walsh hitting it forward, but hitting it waywardly as well. And David Noonan's able to mop it up, drive it back down to Horgan again. 2 players against him. And Horgan fouled, and the referee awards the free-in, seeing no advantage accruing. And the 2 players involved there, Glenn O'Connor and John Neville, just powerless to prevent Glen Rovers number 14 from making headway once again.
Yeah, great little coaching point there for any young player watching that. Patrick Horgan just stopped, put on the brakes a little bit, and then when the defenders were sucked in, he accelerated out of it, right, and made a free for himself. A simple little tug, but you know, the Bars' discipline. You know, when you're up against a player of Patrick Horgan's capabilities, you can't afford to give away any little silly frees like that. And you know, another simple chance now for the Glen, and they're just keeping the scoreboard ticking over. 2:17 out to 13 points. That's a 10-point gap, and you know, they'll see out the game comfortably from here.
Once again, it is Glen Rovers in total command. Back out as far as Donal Cronin. Out by Damien Cahalane with the scoreline reading 2:18 to 13 points. Jack Cahalane. Cahalane has 3 or 4 Glen Rovers players near him. Managed to steer that ball outside to Owen Finn. Finn looking for a support player, can't find him initially. Damien Cahalane coming in to challenge David Noonan. Noonan gathers, looks up, sees Simon Kennefick, heads up hurling. Clever stuff on the part of Glen Rovers, even if the finish is a little disappointing.
Well, they
utterly masterful.
They won't mind that. You know, Noonan has been very impressive since he's gone back into the half-back line, and you know, he thunders over the ball, as has Brian Moylan, and they really have been in control all through. The Glen defence played very well as a unit, and their half-forwards are dropping back the field, and they're creating great space inside. So even if they hit the ball wide, it's a case of like it's keeping the Bars down, and the Bars are struggling to get the ball, any sort of quality ball into their inside forwards, and they've made no impression on tonight.
Glen O'Connor with the clock ticking on. Some 24 minutes into the second half. Huge one up this time towards Stephen Sherlock. Can't get to it, however. And once again, the Glen come out and set the next attack in motion with Adam Lynch driving it down. Back towards Cahalane it comes again. That's Damien, the older of the brothers. fed back once more. Up into the air, this one goes near the post, but not where he intended. And another one has gone astray. One of the issues which the Glen will talk about, of course, is the dual aspect, playing hurling and football week after week. And I'm sure it's something that has entered your mind as well from time to time. Can it be done?
Well, I think, you know, the Bars had 4 or 5 players involved in football championship last week, and I think it's very, very difficult.
And then throw in the Cahillans. They were playing with Castlehaven.
Well, they played with Castlehaven, and Jack Callahan came on as a sub as well and did very well there. But the problem is, you know, it's not so bad when you have to turn from hurling to football, but it's a lot more difficult turning from football to hurling. Hurling is a far more skillful game. And
that's a beautiful piece of skill. And it's Stephen Sherlock there. He was very unlucky, saved it up onto the post, I think it came, and the Glen got away with that one, even though going a handsome lead. Damien Cahalane back again. All the way in. Brian Hayes is now in there at full forward for St. Finbarrs. Meanwhile, Cathal Hickey back out into the centre beyond Jack Cahalane. Glenn O'Connor goes back to collect. He's another one of those footballers come hurlers. As Donald was saying, it is difficult. The Glen themselves have plenty of players, but they're playing with the St. Nick's, the sister club. Haven't been among the major players in senior football for quite some time, from the point of view of winning championships. Ethan Toomey hits it, and Ethan has missed. Just 18 years of age. This the chance again, Donald.
Yeah, a good run from Stephen Sherlock and a good save from Hickey up onto the crossbar, and the Bars badly needed that one. Might have been only a consolation score, but they needed that for the next round of the championship. Give themselves, this is a group where two teams will come out and a super score again from Glen Rovers.
Certainly was all of that. David Noonan with 2.
Yanni's played very, very well. Jared driven over the fence on occasions, and a great score again by Noonan.
Dale Tynan coming on. Player going off will be Conor Doris. But it's an opportunity now for the management team led by Richie Kelleher to give a couple of their squad players a bit of championship experience. Dale played last year in the championship. He's 20 years of age. Cahalane, this is Conor Cahalane. Back it comes to Jack, his brother. Finally, it's John Neville, and eventually it is Robert O'Mahony who hit it, followed up by Stephen Sherlock. They went close, they've got a 65, but not the score they were looking for. Robert O'Mahony in there at the finish there.
Yeah, the Bars putting a little bit of a pressure on there, right, and a good shot. Came in there from Robert O'Mahony, but again it went off the post, and nobody reacted quick enough maybe to get the rebound. But it's all consolation stuff at the moment. The Glen know they're just seeing this game out. The Glen know they have this in the bag, and all they have to do really is that you know, the Bars need two very quick goals to get back into it, and I couldn't see that happening.
Damien Cahalane standing over the 65, first of the match. Lobbing it in, going for a goal to see if they can get it. Comes out towards Stephen Sherlock. Owen Finn is in there as well, and Finn got a nudge in the back, and it's going to be a free from 20 metres. Shake of the head there by Simon Kennefick. Simon is the scorer of 2 goals and a point. He's the scoring star from the Glen's point of view, together with the freeze, of course, expertly put over by Patrick Horgan. Billy Hennessy back towards Cahalane, sells a dummy. Drives it in low, dangerously so. Plenty of Glen Rovers bodies there to collect. David Noonan, one of them. Reaching in to try and get it there was Ethan Toomey. Over to Owen Keane. And Keane sees his effort go over the crossbar, point in each half for him, but mere consolation for him. 219 to 13 points.
Yeah, 219 now, they just put up the score there, 219 to, you know, 2-5 up, you know, 11 points, and a few minutes left. And you really said there was a gulf in class tonight. The Glen looked very, very comfortable all through. did their job very, very well, defended well and fine and tough, and made the Bars work for everything, and the Bars just weren't good enough really when it comes down to it.
Well, they're still trying the Bars, and it's Jack Cahalane coming in here at the angle, feeding it across here, and coming to collect it is Adam O'Donovan, the left half back for Glen Rovers, right at the very end, sweeping it away on a danger. They don't want to yield a goal to the Bars. Line ball. Forward they come again, St Finbarrs with Owen Finn this time, and this time it's driven up and between the uprights. He's got 5 for the night, but not enough. 2-19 to 14 points.
I think against the Breeze in the first half, Gerard, that the Glen built the platform really in early goal, and you know, very, very good play, excellent scores from Páirc Horgan from play and from frees, and they set that platform out very early, and as I said, they looked well in control all through.
2-19 to 15 points, in fact. Ethan Toomey jumping for this one to Owen Keane, feeding it back here to John Neville. And nipping in is Páirc Horgan, cleverly trying to get it past Glen O'Connor. That's good play by Horgan. He's on for a goal here, and that is a match to light up this game. A goal to light up a contest where the Glen were utterly dominant. He stole it from Glen O'Connor, and he finished emphatically.
Yeah, made it look easy, Joe, really, didn't he? He won the ball on the ground and made a run. Looked, see where the keeper was, and he tucked it away into the corner. What a class goal, right? And he's given a class display tonight.
3 added minutes. For the record, that is Horgan's 21st ever championship goal in Cork. Throw in an extra couple that he scored in Munster club competitions. So in championship hurling for the Glen, he's now on 24 goals in a wonderful career.
Yeah, and I think Gerald, last year against Newtown Chandler, I think he pushed his tally over the 500-point mark. You know, the one player to have done that, but he made it look so easy tonight. You know, difficult points in the first half against the Breeze, and that was a class goal, really. Just, you know, glided away from the defence and picked a spot without breaking stride, just knocked it into the corner. What a fantastic goal.
Cahalane. Brian Moylan once again back here, picking it up. Like all of his colleagues, he's had a very, very good game. And bear in mind, they have done this, Glen Rovers, having played more than half the match with 14 players. The Glen are certainly a team to be reckoned with once again in this year's Cork County Hurling Championship. And once more, it's Páirc Horgan leading the way. Back it comes here. This to Dale Tynan. Tynan would love to score, having come on as a substitute, and he picks a neat and tidy point there. Lovely efficiency, lovely score, and that's now 3 goals and 20 points for the Glen.
Yeah, lovely little score there. Páirc Horgan drew in 2 defenders again and just released Dale Tynan. He made a good run, just knocked it over the bar, but all through the Bars have had problems picking up players and being tight, and again the Glen muck the ball out. There's no real pressure on them, and you know, that was a failing on the Bars from the throw-in tonight, and you know, they suffered badly as a consequence.
I think the Glen have Carrick-Toole next, and I think maybe there's a break before their last match. Piercing, that'll be a great old north-side rivalry game as well, but if they have the 2 wins under their belt at that stage, I think the Glen will feel very good about themselves. And right now, they're looking so powerful. Out to Dean Brosnan, back in his own half of the field, looking up to spot just where the support players are. Luke Horgan, who will have enjoyed his first ever championship match, the number 22 there, scored 2 points early on. The referee blows the final whistle, and Richie Kelleher's team, Glen Rovers, has seen off the challenge of St Finbarrs. Páirc Horgan finishes with a goal and 9 points. It was a tremendous performance. Simon Kennefick, on a night when he scored 2 goals and a point, on a night in which Glen Rovers have the emblem of his grandfather, Christy Ring, on the front of their jersey. It's a wonderful night for them. Not so for Aidan Fitzpatrick and for St Finbarrs. Not so much back to the drawing boards. They will go again, and they will try to get to at least the quarterfinals of this year's championship. But it was emphatic, Donald. The Glen, 3 goals and 20 points. St. Finbarrs, 15. You're summing up.
Yeah, there was a gulf in class, Ger. There's no doubt about it. You know, looking at the Glen, their defence was teak tough, very tight. The Bars were the complete opposite, right? Gave their players, the opponents, too much space, allowed the Glen to do what they liked. You know, it was like a league game. They needed to play. You know, this is the goal by Páirc Horgan here. Just glides away from the defence, no break in stride, has a quick look. Shane Hurley really couldn't do anything about it, right into the corner. What a class goal. But he showed in the first half class points again. But the Glen had class. The Bars were treading water from the beginning, and they're back to the drawing board. And you know, on that display, you'd fail to see them making any impact on this championship.
They will be bitterly disappointed. But the final score here at Páirc Uí in Cork, it's Glen Rovers 3 goals and 20 points. St. Finbarrs 15 points. The Glen won it, and won it comfortably.
Well, Donald O'Grady said a gulf in class. I think it was a gulf in class. You'd nearly forget that the Glen didn't have the extra man there in the second half.
Yeah, absolutely, Yvonne. As Ger mentioned in the commentary, it looked as if it was the other way around, to be honest. But shouldn't take away anything from the Glen. It was a powerful performance right throughout the team, from Páirc in goals, really solid defensively, used the ball very well. And then up front, 2 Horgans, Luke and Patrick, Simon Kennefick, outstanding in the first half, especially the way he was taking on the man, and also at the start of the second half when he got that goal. So overall, Bears were poor, no point in saying anything other than that. But it really was a very good performance from the Glen.
Yeah, scores are often the highlights, but actually they were so good all around. Like, they were putting pressure on the Bars as well. There were wides going over, like in the second half there from St. Finbarrs, and those long balls were just coming straight back out again.
Yeah, I mean, we were discussing it here in studio. You know, we were commenting on how the Glen were just using the ball a lot better than the Bars were. I mean, you know, the Glen had 1-4 on the board before the Bars had any score in the second half, and that just set the tone for the whole second half. The Bars were just struggling. You know, they went for a goal from a 21-yard free where they had no score in the second half at that stage. You know, get a point on the board, get yourself back into the game, and see can you chip away and try and claw your way back into it. But, you know, they just lost composure. You thought Jack Callahan came on and Ethan Toomey came on, and they started to get on the ball. The young fellas, they had no fear, and they started to show a little bit more. And then the Bars started to get a bit more kind of ball into the forward line. But right throughout the Glen, they're used to the ball, far superior to the Bars. And, you know, the Bars will be very disappointed now going back there to Cork tonight, especially getting back into the game at half-time. 4 points in it, man up. And then you produce that performance in the second half. Very disappointing, you know.
Yeah, Donald, you mentioned that Cathal Hickey save, and when a team is 10 points up or whatever they were up at that point, and they're still so switched on at the back, that says it all, really, doesn't it? Yeah,
even from a goalkeeping point of view, look, he wasn't that much under pressure tonight, and it's always the test of a goalkeeper. Can they react when they haven't been in the game? It was a fantastic save. At that time, the Bears were actually putting up some resistance and did get a couple of chances, like Kieran said. But ultimately, like, if you took Bill Hennessy out of that, right, in the middle of the field, there was very little resistance put up by the Bears. But, you know, you would have thought that it was the Glen and the Bears were going to come out of that group. But on tonight's performance, I'm not so sure the Bears will get out of the group, and would be very surprised if they do get the opportunity to play the Glen again this year.
They're under savage pressure now after tonight, aren't they?
Yeah, they are. You know, I mean, I suppose it's just a confidence hit, really. You know, from tonight, you're going back. You had high expectations. You know, a local derby. And, you know, it's just you're going back, and there's a lot of questions now that'll be asked. On the other side, the Glen, they really laid down a marker. You know, I suppose we were asking at the start, are they still serious contenders? With the way they played tonight, I mean, it looked like Páirc Uí suited them down to the ground. Loads of space for their forwards. Simon Kennefick, Páirc Horgan, you know, you've Donald Cronin and Dean Brosnan playing good ball into their forwards. That was a serious performance tonight from the Glen, and I'm sure Richie Kelleher and Ian will be delighted going home there tonight.
Yeah, I'm actually looking forward to looking back at some of those scores after the break, but we do have to take a break first here on Saturday GAA Live. First, though, it's a competition time and your chance to enjoy the perfect staycation.
RTE Sport have teamed up with Ireland's Blue Book to give you at home the chance to win a Blue Book gift voucher to the value of €2,000. With a choice of hotels from Donegal to Kerry and Dublin to Galway, you can create your perfect autumn getaway in Blue Book destinations all across Ireland. Create your ultimate holiday at home this year. See irelandsbluebook.com. For your chance to win this fantastic prize, answer this question. What is the name given to the GAA's point detection system? Is it Hawkeye, Eagle Eye or Cat Eye? To enter, call 15 17 71 71 74 or text the word GAME followed by your answer and name to 57001. Calls from the Air Network will cost €2.03. Calls from other networks may be higher. You must be over 18 to enter. Lines will close at midday on Monday, August 31st. Full details are on rte.ie/competitions, where the lucky winner will also be revealed.
Welcome back to Saturday GAA Live. So Glen Rovers have opened their Premier Senior Hurling campaign with a win over St Finbarrs. A big win too, 320 to 15 points the final score. That's the table as it stands in Group C. Glen Rovers with that win on the board. Carrick Tuachel and the Páirc play tomorrow at 3. So we'll see how that one goes. But only two teams will eventually emerge from that group. Folks, let's take a look at some of the scores that we saw over the course of this game. Simon Kennefick, 2 goals. I mean, the first one was magic. We didn't think we'd see another one. You even said that he walks like Christy Ring. He's got real style about him, hasn't he?
I tell you what I liked about him was that he was taking on the man, right? Okay, like to get goals. We know there's been some great finishes in the game, but we need to see Cork forwards that are willing to take on the man. And on a number of occasions, I know with this one that he caught the ball 3 times, but he had a lot of work to do when he gathered the ball. He was 45 yards out from goals, and also I wouldn't underestimate the strength of wrist running at that speed that needs to hit the ball that hard. That was an outstanding finish. And again, you know, I think even for his second one here, there was just a slight little nudge that tells you that this guy's got that instinct in around the square. And again, a really good finish. I bet you he knew exactly what he was doing in terms of forcing the Bars defender into the other defender, and he was away then.
Kieran, you liked the look of that little nudge in the back as a coach.
Yeah, certainly. I suppose, you know, at half-time we could see that there was a small bit of kind of rain fell, you know, and, you know, that was really smart because in those conditions, any little nudge and the defender's gone on the ground. Sometimes you get blown for it, but he really did it in a way that Cahill, the referee, couldn't pick it up. And then what I also liked was when he went in, the ball was low on the ground. Shane Hurley, an excellent keeper for the Bars, he gave him no chance with the finish. How often do you see forwards go through and they're hitting waist high for the keeper and they're giving them the opportunity? He hit it into the ground, gave Shane Hurley no chance. Great goal.
Little confidence boost for him as well, goals and points tonight. Let's hear what Simon Kennefick has to say. He's speaking to Marty Morrissey.
Simon Kennefick, this must be a very special night because we're looking at your jersey and we're looking at your grandfather, the famous Christy Ring.
Yeah, it is a nice honour. We only found out really today before the game. We kind of did, the lads took him out of the bag, and it was a nice touch, especially for my family, I suppose, and myself included, to play on his 100th year. Yeah, it's a nice touch.
It's a great touch, but then he was Christy Ring,
yeah,
one of the greatest of all time.
I suppose he's kind of just my granddad when I really kind of think about it, but it's only when you kind of step back and you see kind of this and the occasion of the year, you kind of realise just how special he was, I suppose.
Well, I'm sure tonight above in heaven, good man Simon, 2 cracking goals.
Hopefully, anyway, hopefully.
The first one was important. You really battled hard to get, because you were under pressure. I thought you might have been, you were fouled, but you stayed with it.
I suppose it was our first game, and I just said beforehand, if I got the chance, I'd run at him, because I know I can have the speed, and Páirc said it to me as well, just if the opportunity comes, run, and I suppose it worked out.
And to get the second goal right after half-time was crucial.
Yeah, we lost Robert, unfortunately, and I suppose we just kind of we had to go at him straight from the start if we were to keep, the Bars are a very good team. The Glen Bars is a big rivalry, so I suppose we had to get a good start, and thankfully I was there when the ball came in.
Well, well done to Glen Rovers. Well
Thank
done
you.
to you, Simon Kennefick.
Thanks.
And lovely to meet the grandson of the great Christy Ring. So
Thank
well
you.
done.
Yeah, nice to, in terms of the squad as well, you know, those goals came from Simon, but I mean, it's great that, you know, the squad is there, that they have goal scorers. With Patrick Horgan's goal, it was artistry, wasn't it, in the second half?
Yeah, class. Like, it's everything from the whole setup, the way he was involved first day. You know, you mentioned Christy Ring. Everybody, or one of the things that's always remarkable about Christy Ring is the strength of his hands and his wrists. And there's lots of remarkable things around Patrick Horgan. But one of the items is the strength of his wrist, and that flick with the one hand, and also to strike the ball with that power, because that's actually not the natural side to get the most power off of when you're running like that. And again, like, it wasn't as if he'd both feet on the ground or anything like that. He's a special player. We often spoke about, I was talking to you today about it, Kieran, was that he's got an outstanding gift, but the work that he put into his game, that just doesn't happen overnight. Like, it was one of the remarkable things when he came in as a player onto the Cork squad, that he would always be there first at training. He'd be last to get off the field, constantly practicing. And I know there's a saying that the artist is nothing without the gift, but the gift is nothing without hard work, and he's testament to that.
OK, well, he's with Marty now. Let's hear what Patrick Horgan has to say.
Patrick Horgan, good to see you in those famous Glen Rovers colours, but you must be very pleased with your team performance tonight.
Yeah, I thought we were exceptional from the off. Maybe a little blip there when Rob got sent off, but lucky for us, it was close enough to half time. We regrouped and pulled away in the second half. We were happy coming into the game, like, we were going well, and we proved tonight that our hard work for the last month or so has paid off, and we're happy. Yeah.
What's it been like, Patrick, being a club player, waiting for the club championship to start? Tonight was your inaugural match in the Cork County Championship. In terms of preparation, has it been difficult, awkward? What has it been like?
No, it's actually been fine. The only difference is no dressing rooms and all that kind of stuff. We just pull up in the cars, go train as usual. I suppose we're just all happy to be back on the field, because a couple of months ago, I suppose, we didn't think we were going to be on the field at all this year, and just to be able to play down here, especially on a surface like this, is it's a bonus, and we're all just delighted to be out.
You scored some goal tonight, Patrick.
Yeah, I think I was a bit lucky.
No, I don't think it was lucky at all. I thought it was brilliant, and I know Ger, my colleague, said in the commentary, I think it was your 21st Cork County Championship goal, which is remarkable.
Yeah, to be fair to all our forwards tonight, I think we all chipped in, especially in the first half there. I think we were coming from all angles. I think everyone managed to get 2 or 3 points each, and that's a good sign of a team and a forward unit. So hopefully we can keep that going into next week. Now is very important for us.
Well, congratulations tonight, and I look forward to seeing you in the red and white jersey as well. Hopefully, please God, later on.
Nice
Thanks,
one,
Patrick.
thanks.
He said it there, you guys said it earlier, just about the amount of scores they have and the forwards that were, you know, coming up with scores in the first and second half. Luke Horgan stood out tonight too, didn't he? Yeah, absolutely. We spoke about him beforehand. Young man, minor, big game, Bears versus the Glen. Thought he was very impressive, thought he was comfortable on the ball. He was combative as well as all of the Glen forwards were, and he can be really happy with his performance tonight. As manager and coach of the minors for Cork, you'd be sorry he won't be available to you next year.
Yeah, look, I mean, we kind of signalled him out beforehand, to have a look and see how he went, and he just attacked the game right from the start. It really kind of showed the difference between the two teams. The Glen just went straight at it, and Luke, he just really emphasised that, and you can see there from his scores. He took the ball on, wasn't afraid to take responsibility, and when he had the opportunity, he was able to execute. And that was really impressive for a guy making his debut. His debut,
so they were his first scores at senior level. Is he someone Kieran Kingston could be looking at?
It's probably a bit early for that event, to be honest, right? But look, good forwards are a special thing, right? And it's too early for that, I would say, right? But he definitely appears to be on the right track.
We have a manager interview coming up, Richie Kelleher, I think, in Mercy.
Richie Kelleher, congratulations on a wonderful performance, because you lost your fullback, Robert Downey, after 25 minutes, but it looked like it was you guys that had the extra man.
Yeah, look, I don't know about that team. So they put themselves in a hole. They're very quick to put him to get into a hole and then get over just as quick. Like, I didn't see what happened. It looked harsh in my opinion, but look, Robert plays on the edge. He's in the county hurler. You want players playing on the edge, and he looked like he got caught today. We'll have a look at it and see if we can appeal it. I don't know where we're going to go, but look, you want players playing on the edge, but sometimes they can go over the edge, obviously. And look, that's Robert. He's one of our best players, and we're mad about him.
Yeah, well, even from my point of view, I thought it was a bit harsh. But that having been said, I thought the Glen spirit, which is well known in GA world and mine in Cork, was reflected in your performance, because for the next 45 minutes, 35 minutes, you were the dominant force.
Yeah, look, and we've good hurlers and we've good young players. We lost a senior county final last year. We lost a minor county final last year as well. So we've plenty young to throw at, plenty of energy. We've a couple of older heads. Look, as I said to you earlier, this is our 5th county final in 10 years. So look, we've lost a few of them, but look, we beat my better teams on the day. We came down today to give our performance. We know if we give a Glen performance, we're a match for anybody. And tonight we can show what we can do. But look, the flip side is if we got to bottle that and keep it going for another month or two. But that's the hard part. We'll do our best to do that if we can.
Well, the very best of luck and congratulations on your win tonight.
Thanks very much. We're delighted.
Yeah, really big win, but a tough pill to swallow for St Finbarrs. How are they going to come out of that, Kieran?
Yeah, look, I think, you know, I mentioned it there earlier, Jack Callahan, Ethan Toomey came on. You know, these are the young guys that have been coming through from the Bars for the last number of years. We mentioned it, I think, Donal, you mentioned it beforehand. They won the under-15 county final last year, the under-16, they were in the minor semi-final last year. There's a huge amount of work been done underage in the Bars for the last kind of 10 years. And, you know, these are the guys now who are, you know, who are coming through from all that work. I think you just have to give the likes of Jack and Ethan a go. There's nothing to lose at this stage. You know, you're looking for someone to come in and play with no fear, and I think the two lads did that when they came on. Okay, the game was gone a small bit, but that's what you need. You need, you know, kind of young blood just coming in, and I think they could really add something to that Bars team.
Yeah, and they have a mountain to climb now, and yet Jack Callahan is a good example of someone who's probably going to be playing a football match next before he plays a hurling match. Is that disruptive? Is that going to be tough?
There's no doubt about that event. Look, playing hurling and football, as I've said before, they're very demanding masters, and it's a really hard thing to do to serve 2 masters.
And it's a different club too for the Cahallans.
Absolutely, so you can imagine that causes challenges around training, fixtures, scheduling. I think Donal O'Grady touched on it. Hurling, especially at the top level, that's senior hurling in Cork, top level, at club level. You need to be playing it all the time. You need to be constantly improving, working on it. And you did see the gulf in class there tonight. Like the likes of Jack Callahan, if he wants to make it, which I've no doubt he does as a hurler, he needs to be putting himself up there against the likes of Páirc Horgan and asking himself, how did Páirc Horgan become so good at what he does? And one of those things, as we've spoken about a couple of times, is the amount of time and effort that Páirc put into his game. He just doesn't turn up like that tonight and be able to do the things he can do. It requires massive dedication. And I've always said it, I think it's practically impossible to serve 2 such demanding masters as well as that.
Well, dual players is just one of the challenges that Aidan Fitzpatrick is going to be dealing with. He is speaking now with Marty Morrissey. Let's hear what he has to say.
Aidan, commiserations. Can you put into words your thoughts at the moment? Are you disappointed, obviously?
Yeah, obviously. You know, we thought we prepared well. We thought we'd have we knew we'd be up against a great team, but just disappointed, you know. Just disappointed for the lads because the effort they've put in. You know, I think we had a bad start, and look, just things didn't go our way, but look, we've a chance to redeem ourselves. We've 2 more games, and we need a big lift, like, to get out of this group. Glen are obviously still flying. We thought we'd give them a better game than that, but we're just disappointed with ourselves more than anything.
But they've played in something like 5 county finals. They lost last year's county final, so they're very experienced, while you have a lot of new and young upcoming players.
Yeah, but sure, look, I mean, it's still Bears and Glen. You'd always give yourself a chance, you know. That's what we were hoping for. We know, like I said beforehand, they're probably the best club team around for the last 10 years. But I'm just disappointed for the lads because of the effort they've put in, you know. And they're better than that. Like, we know they're better than that. They know themselves they're better than that. But you know, a lot of things didn't go our way, and the better team won by a mile.
You were hit with 2 sucker punches with the 2 goals by Simon Kennefick at the start of the first half and start of the second half.
Yeah, they did a perfect start, like, and we were clawing it back. I thought the second quarter we came back into it, and we rallied, like. But like you said, they got the goals at the right times, and we didn't seem to have any answer for them.
Well, you're still alive. You're still in the group. You have to play in Páirc and Carrick too. Can you regroup, do you think?
Yeah, look, these fellas, there's a few of them been around a while, but look, if we don't, we're out, like. That's the reality of it. It's a very quick championship, like. It's different. It's the first time ever, so a short week to get back up for it, and we'll have to try and rattle a good PSHC team. So it's a lot of work to do during the week, but hopefully, knowing the lads, they lift it all right.
Well, no better man to deal with it, Aidan, and we wish you the best of luck.
All right, cheers.
Thank you.
Thanks, Dad.
Yeah, it wasn't a hugely competitive match, but you know we did see some great hurling at times, Kieran. I know it's not an issue this year, but next year could you see Cork clubs doing more at provincial level and moving on that little bit, because it's been tough for a few years?
Yeah, I mean certainly the last number of years. You know, we were even just discussing it earlier coming up in the car, and we were saying that like Newtown, you know, they were the last kind of club team to do something in Munster and win it. You know, I think it's time now. You know, even I was involved myself in a couple of Munster club campaigns where we were narrowly defeated. But you know, we need to start kind of, I suppose, winning Munster clubs really, and bringing that kind of quality of club hurling up. And you know, it is coming. It definitely is improving. And you know, like a performance like that now for the Glen tonight can show the standard of Cork club hurling.
Yeah, I mean, even just from a Cork GA point of view, things do seem to be looking up. You have the stadium is up and running now. You, Páirc, are gone in as minor manager. You must see something good that's coming up. And then to go and to sign 2 sponsors in the middle of a global pandemic in the last couple of weeks as well. It's all positive.
Yeah, there's a lot of positive things happening, Evan. I think those sponsorships that you mentioned, the Bond Secures and Co-op Superstars coming in, especially given the time that's in it, that was a really good sign. It was a really good vote of confidence in the leadership that's there with the Cork County Board. There are challenges. The stadium is there. It's a stadium and a field. It isn't very much other than that. It's definitely not a centre of excellence, right?
It was a COVID testing centre there for a while, wasn't
it? Yeah, but it was being sold, if you like, as a centre of excellence. It's not a centre of excellence, but there are a lot of positive things that are happening. The ship is definitely turning. There's a good championship there, and what I would say is there's a fierce desire from an awful lot of people to put their shoulder to the wheel to get Cork back on track, and things are definitely positive and moving in the right direction.
Well, when you say that you have that shoulder attitude, was that missing before?
I think anybody who was there was always trying to do their best, you know. I suppose there's been kind of good reviews done over the last kind of number of years and structures that have been put in place now. You know, there's been people put in manager positions and big pressure on them and to deliver, like the man here alongside me, you know. But I think everybody, you know, as Donald said there, there's a real willingness there to kind of progress things and try and improve, I suppose, results and performances that have been there over the last few years. And you know, like the seniors are going out, they're playing Waterford in the Munster Championship semi-final. You know, everything is up for grabs. A good team that's there, and certainly Kieran Kingston back at the helm, and you know, he'll be looking forward to that. And you know, another Munster win and All-Ireland campaign would certainly help matters.
Yeah, maybe things are just maybe a bit quicker to change now in Cork GAA with a bit of a change at county board level. Like even coming away from the knockout championship structures, that was probably hard enough one to get over the line, was it?
Absolutely, because in a lot of aspects Cork likes staying to tradition, and there would have been a lot of support for staying with the knockout. So that's a great sign, and there's loads to build on. Like Cork is a big place, right? There's actually more clubs in Cork than there is in the entire of Connacht, right? So Cork should be at the top table. Cork should be competing at the top level. We have challenges, like I said. I mentioned the stadium. The finance in the stadium is an issue for Cork. It was a massive overspend, but it's something that Cork will deal with and just have to deal with over the next couple of years. But there's loads to build on. You look at the senior championship, look at the amount of teams that are involved in it, right? You've got the Premier and you've got the Senior A, and then a huge amount of clubs with a load of work that's going on behind that. So definitely the ship is turning and going in the right direction.
Okay, well, I'm afraid that's all we have time for. I want to say thanks to Donal Cusack and Kieran Murphy for joining me here tonight. I will be back with more Club Championship hurling next weekend with a double header this time of Limerick Senior Hurling to look forward to.